Military training under Magic City's scorching September sun pushed the temperature past 40 degrees. Standing in formation, Su felt his vision blur until a mechanical voice echoed in his mind. Goddess development system bound. Before he could react, everything went black and he collapsed onto the track. His classmates rushed over while his roommate Wang Hao shouted dramatic nonsense about unpaid lunch and begging someone to save Su with mouth-to-mouth. Ignoring the noise, Su was carried into the shade and checked his phone after hearing it vibrate. A voice message from his mother cheerfully told him she had sent more living expenses, and even joked that he should use the money to treat girls and bring a girlfriend home for New Year. Expecting only a few thousand yuan, Su opened his bank notification. 100 million RMB. He froze. It wasn't his mother who had become rich. The system had actually deposited 100 million yuan into his account. After being taken to the infirmary, Su finally calmed down and confirmed the truth. The money belonged entirely to him. There were no ridiculous missions forcing him to spend it, no penalties and no cashback gimmicks. It was simply his to use however he wanted. As he enjoyed the thought of absolute financial freedom, a cold voice interrupted him. If you're pretending to faint to skip military training, I'll report you to your counselor. Looking up, Su saw Mu Chang. The finance department's famous campus beauty stood before him in a white coat. Despite working several part-time jobs to support her struggling family, she remained distant and untouchable, admired by nearly every male student. Before today, Su would never have dared speak to her, but the 100 million yuan erased the inferiority he had carried from his small hometown. Claiming he really had heatstroke, he tried to joke with her, but Mu Chang remained completely indifferent and insisted he return to training. At that moment, blue system notifications appeared. Target Mu Chang. Rating SSS. Current trait Iceberg Beauty. Hidden trait locked. Weakness severe financial pressure. Development progress 0%. Su quickly understood the system. Completing development would unlock rewards, but unlike typical protagonists, he had no intention of becoming a desperate simp just to satisfy the system. With 100 million already in his account, he could live however he pleased. Instead of chasing women, he decided to enjoy life. However, a comfortable life required someone reliable to handle everyday errands. Looking at Mu Chang, who desperately needed money, an idea formed. I heard you work several part-time jobs, he said calmly. What does that have to do with you? She replied coldly. They're not worth your time. Mu Chang frowned. What are you trying to say? Quit them all. Su met her eyes without the slightest nervousness. Become my exclusive personal assistant. The job is simple: buy meals, run errands, and handle my daily affairs. He casually held up his phone. Room and board included, 10,000 yuan a month, bonuses if you do well. After leaving the infirmary, Mu Chang checked her bank balance. 312 yuan. Her student loan and part-time wages were still days away, while her younger sister's tutoring fees were due soon. No matter how tempting Su's offer sounded, she dismissed it and returned to work. Meanwhile, Su received a voice message from his father, secretly asking to borrow 500 yuan after his wife confiscated his fishing money. Amused, Su transferred him 2,000 instead, using the excuse that it came from his girl-chasing fund. Soon Wang Hao arrived carrying braised chicken he had paid for himself. While eating together, he admitted he had admired senior Zhang Wangqing since high school but had never dared confess, only silently following her social media for 2 years. Seeing how sincere his roommate was, Su transferred him 10,000 yuan. Wang Hao nearly screamed, convinced Su had robbed a bank. To avoid suspicion, Su claimed his family had received a huge demolition payout, and Wang Hao immediately believed it. When Wang Hao asked to borrow the money to buy Zhang Wangqing the latest phone, Su stopped him. You can spend it on yourself or on her, that's your choice. He paused before adding one condition. Don't become a simp. Wang Hao silently nodded, promising to remember those words and repay the money someday. Leaving the infirmary, the two passed their class beauty, Lin Jiu, who greeted them with a smile before walking away with her friends discussing a wealthy freshman who had driven an Audi A6 to school. Su wasn't interested. With 100 million in his account, he had no intention of riding shared bicycles forever. He asked Wang Hao to cover for him during afternoon military training, then left campus. Half an hour later, Su stood outside a Porsche dealership. Wearing nothing but a camouflage training shirt, cheap shorts, and worn sneakers, he confidently walked toward the showroom. At the same time, Mu Chang was working in the university cafeteria after finishing her infirmary shift. While helping prepare food, her phone vibrated. It was a message from her younger sister. "Sis, second aunt came to our house again today," she argued with mom. After leaving campus, Su walked into a Porsche dealership wearing nothing but his military training uniform and cheap sneakers. Most of the saleswomen assumed he was another college student looking for free air conditioning or photos, so they sent the struggling intern Han Xiao to deal with him. The system immediately identified her as a new target, but Su ignored the notification. Instead of browsing, he pointed directly at a fully equipped Panamera and the 911 beside it. "Are both in stock? If they are, what's the total price?" The entire showroom fell silent. Without waiting for an explanation, Su placed his old bank card on the hood. "Swipe it, I need to get back to school." Moments later, the payment was approved. 5.4 million yuan paid in full. The showroom exploded into chaos. The salespeople who had mocked him were stunned, while senior salesperson Ms. Li immediately tried to steal the commission by offering to handle the paperwork herself. Su glanced at the manager. "If these cars aren't registered under her name, I'll buy from Ferrari across the street." The manager instantly drove Ms. Li away and ordered Han Xiao to continue the sale. Overwhelmed, Han Xiao personally handled every procedure and respectfully exchanged WeChat with Su before he left. The system responded immediately. Han Xiao development progress 10%. Rewards: a luxury duplex penthouse at Thompson Riviera. All ownership documents placed inside the Panamera. Driving mastery. After completing the paperwork, Su drove away in the black Panamera, while the red 911 was delivered separately. Thanks to driving mastery, the rookie driver instantly handled the luxury car like an experienced veteran. Back at the university cafeteria, Mu Chang continued working after her infirmary shift. While washing dishes, she kept thinking about her younger sister's message. Their troublesome aunt had visited again, causing another argument and taking the family's chickens. Her sister's upcoming study trip also required money she didn't have. Distracted, Mu Chang accidentally dropped a plate. It shattered on the floor. The cafeteria supervisor immediately deducted 50 yuan from her wages and warned that another mistake would cost her the job. Silently picking up the broken pieces, Mu Chang couldn't help recalling Su's offer. 10,000 yuan a month. For the first time, that impossible proposal lingered in her mind. Su drove his newly purchased black Porsche Panamera back to Madu University, instantly attracting attention across campus. Students stopped to stare, take photos, and wonder who owned such an expensive car. After parking outside the boys' dormitory, Su bought a cup of instant noodles from the convenience store and returned to his room. Seeing the cheap meal, Wang Hao assumed Su had spent all his money helping him and immediately offered to return the remaining cash. Su laughed it off, explaining he simply preferred instant noodles over the overly sweet food outside. Soon, roommate Liu Qiang spotted the Panamera downstairs and excitedly called everyone onto the balcony. As the dorm's self-proclaimed car expert, he confidently explained every luxury option on the vehicle, estimating it was worth over 3 million yuan. After quietly eating a mouthful of noodles, Su casually commented, "The visibility isn't great, it has quite a few blind spots." Everyone looked at him as if he were crazy. Liu Qiang mocked him for pretending to understand luxury cars while eating instant noodles, while Wang Hao, who knew the truth, desperately changed the subject to keep Su's wealth a secret. Su simply smiled and continued eating, having no interest in proving the car was his. Meanwhile, photos of the Panamera spread across the university forum, becoming the hottest topic on campus. Countless students speculated about the mysterious owner of the luxury car. In the girls' dormitory, class beauty Lin Jiu also saw the post. Remembering how Zhao Zixuan had proudly shown off his Audi A6 during military training, she couldn't help comparing the two. An Audi suddenly seemed ordinary. If she had the chance to sit in the passenger seat of that Porsche, she felt it would be worth it. Elsewhere, Mu Chang sat alone in her quiet dorm after another exhausting day of work. Her roommates had all gone out, leaving her staring at the 300 yuan remaining in her bank account. Between her family's financial troubles and her younger sister's expenses, the pressure was becoming unbearable. After struggling with herself for a long time, she opened the high-paying part-time job app her roommate had recommended. Looking at the list of questionable gaming companion jobs, tears quietly rolled down her face as she realized how desperate her situation had become. After finishing his instant noodles, Su-Mu decided to check out the luxury duplex the system had rewarded him with. Before leaving, Liu Qiang joked that Shanghai was only fun if you had money and suggested hiring a girl through a companion app instead of wandering around alone. Finding the idea amusing, Su-Mu downloaded the app and ignored the cheap listings. He booked the highest-tier Supreme Girlfriend package for 4 hours, paying over 3,500 yuan without hesitation. At the same time, Mu Chang was calculating her expenses in her dorm. A notification suddenly appeared. The order she accepted would earn her nearly 3,000 yuan, enough to cover her younger sister's study trip. After hesitating for a long time, she accepted it. Afraid of meeting someone she knew, she hid her appearance beneath an oversized coat, a baseball cap, and a mask. Before leaving, she even slipped pepper spray into her pocket for protection. As she waited for her client outside the university, heavy rain began pouring. Completely soaked, Mu Chang stood alone beneath a billboard. Just then, Zhao Zixuan drove past in his Audi A6. Recognizing Mu Chang despite her disguise, he assumed she was waiting for a customer. Believing she had become a paid companion, he mocked her and offered to pay even more for her time. Mu Chang repeatedly refused and warned him to leave. Instead, Zhao Zixuan threatened to expose her on the school forum. Before the situation could escalate, the roar of a powerful engine echoed through the rain. A black Porsche Panamera executive stopped beside them, splashing muddy water all over Zhao Zixuan. Seeing the Porsche, Zhao Zixuan swallowed his anger. The driver rolled down the window without even looking at him. Instead, he calmly said to Mu Chang, "Order 1739, get in." Realizing her client had arrived, Mu Chang immediately got into the passenger seat. The Porsche disappeared into the rain, leaving Zhao Zixuan standing there covered in mud, convinced Mu Chang had become the mistress of a wealthy man. Inside the warm, quiet cabin, Mu Chang remained tense. The driver felt strangely familiar, but she couldn't connect the owner of such an expensive Porsche with the freshman she had met that morning. After driving a short distance, Su-Mu removed his sunglasses, smiled at her and said, "We meet again, senior sister." The moment Su-Mu removed his sunglasses, Mu Chang recognized him. It was the freshman she had lectured in the infirmary that morning. Embarrassment overwhelmed her. Her carefully hidden part-time job had been exposed to someone from her own university. Panicking, she tried to open the car door, but Su-Mu locked it. Calmly, he showed her the platform's rules. Canceling after accepting an order required paying 3 times the service fee as compensation. Over 10,000 yuan. Knowing she couldn't possibly afford it, Mu Chang fell silent. After a long pause, she nervously asked him not to tell anyone about what had happened. Su-Mu shrugged. "If word got out that I paid to hire the campus beauty as my temporary girlfriend, I'd be the one embarrassing myself." He explained that he had simply wanted someone to accompany him while checking out his new apartment. Once the 4 hours ended, neither of them would mention the night again. With no other choice, Mu Chang reluctantly agreed. The Porsche soon arrived at Thompson Riviera. From the underground garage filled with luxury cars to the private elevator leading directly into the penthouse, everything left Mu Chang speechless. The apartment overlooked the Bund through massive floor-to-ceiling windows, making her feel completely out of place. After discovering the refrigerator was empty, Su-Mu noticed she was shivering from the rain. He casually tossed her a new bath towel. "Go take a hot shower first." Mu Chang entered the luxurious bathroom and finally relaxed, but another problem quickly appeared. Every piece of clothing she owned had been soaked by the rain. Unable to leave the bathroom, she hesitated for a long time before timidly calling for Su-Mu's help. "My clothes are all wet, could you lend me something to wear?" Su-Mu handed her a clean white shirt through the door before making a phone call. He ordered a complete set of women's clothes to be delivered to the apartment. A few minutes later, Mu Chang walked out wearing the oversized shirt, clearly uncomfortable, while Su-Mu barely reacted before returning to the sofa. Soon the doorbell rang. Several luxury shopping bags were delivered, each containing designer clothing selected for her. Seeing a single coat priced at 68,000 yuan, Mu Chang was stunned. "These are too expensive." Without even looking up, Su-Mu replied, Go change, I can't send you back to school wearing my shirt. Miu Change came out wearing the designer outfit Su Miu had bought for her. Without her old worn clothes, her natural beauty became even more striking. Seeing her, Su Miu nodded in satisfaction. Much better. Feeling guilty for spending most of the previous night's 4-hour booking showering and changing clothes, Miu Change offered to be his tour guide around Shanghai for free that day to make up for the lost time. She had only one request. No one at school can know about us. Su Miu laughed. We're just employer and tour guide, why are you making it sound like we're secretly dating? Embarrassed, Miu Change fell silent. After teasing her a little more, Su Miu sent her to the guest room to rest, while he returned to his own bedroom. Before falling asleep, the system notified him that Miu Change's development progress had reached 5%, surprising him since he hadn't done anything special. The next morning, another 100 million yuan appeared in Su Miu's account. After getting ready, he met Miu Change and drove her to Plaza 66 in the red Porsche 911. The sports car's cramped cabin left Miu Change visibly uncomfortable throughout the drive, while Su Miu enjoyed testing its performance. At the luxury mall, the contrast between them attracted countless looks. Su Miu was still dressed casually, while Miu Change looked like an elegant executive in designer clothing. They entered a luxury menswear boutique, where the sales assistant immediately assumed Miu Change was the wealthy customer. Acting as his guide, Miu Change carefully picked out clothes for him. When Su Miu emerged from the fitting room wearing the outfit she had chosen, both the sales assistant and Miu Change were stunned. With a proper wardrobe, his appearance changed completely. Without hesitation, Su Miu bought the outfit and several more in different colors before continuing his shopping spree through the mall. Over the next 2 hours, he purchased luxury watches, shoes, accessories, and more without even checking the prices. Eventually, he entered a women's clothing store. Assuming he was buying more clothes for her, Miu Change immediately tried to refuse. Su Miu smiled. You're mistaken, these are just spare clothes for future female guests. The sales assistant struggled not to laugh while Miu Change's face instantly turned bright red, silently cursing him as a shameless playboy. A little later, Miu Change timidly tugged on his sleeve. Can you wait a moment? I need to buy something from that store. Confused, Su Miu asked why she didn't just buy it at the luxury boutique. After hesitating for a long time, Miu Change finally admitted in an embarrassed voice that the undergarments delivered with the previous night's clothing were the standard size and didn't fit her properly. She had endured the discomfort all morning, but it had become impossible to ignore. Only then did Su Miu realize why she had been moving so stiffly since they left the apartment. While waiting in the luxury boutique, Su Miu noticed Miu Change took forever choosing something for herself. Even after everything he had bought, she insisted on purchasing the cheapest undergarments available. When he reminded her that his time was worth more than the money she was trying to save, she finally went inside the fitting room. A few minutes later, Su Miu received a message asking for help. The zipper on her new clothing had become stuck, and after making sure no one was around, he stepped into the fitting room. With her back turned, Miu Change awkwardly explained the situation. Su Miu carefully freed the jammed zipper, accidentally brushing her back in the process. Embarrassed, Miu Change instinctively turned around, nearly colliding with him. Before either of them could react, a sales assistant approached outside and asked if everything was all right. To avoid an awkward misunderstanding, Su Miu quietly closed the fitting room curtain while they waited for the assistant to leave. At that moment, the system appeared. Miu Change development progress 10%. It also revealed that this was the first time Miu Change had ever been in such close physical contact with a man. Su Miu finally understood why she had been so nervous around him ever since entering the apartment. After leaving the boutique, Miu Change looked at the expensive clothes Su Miu had bought for her and quietly said she would repay every cent through her part-time jobs. Su Miu agreed casually. Take your time. His indifferent attitude left Miu Change speechless. Meanwhile, class beauty Lin Jiu happened to see the two of them shopping together. She immediately recognized Miu Change's luxurious outfit, worth far more than anything a part-time student could afford. Unable to recognize the now well-dressed Su Miu, she assumed Miu Change had found a wealthy sponsor. Jealousy surged through her. She secretly saved the photos instead of posting them online, deciding they might become useful leverage in the future. On the drive back, Miu Change finally broke the silence. The money you spent today, I'd have to work for years to earn that much. Su Mu simply smiled. If you know that, then seriously consider my offer. Become my personal assistant. 10,000 yuan a month with room and board included. It's much safer than taking those late-night companion jobs. This time Mu Chang's didn't reject him. She quietly looked out the window before answering softly. I'll think about it. When Mu Chang's returned to her dorm on Saturday afternoon, she expected it to be empty. Instead, all three of her roommates were there. The moment they saw her expensive designer outfit, the room fell silent before exploding with questions. Her roommates immediately recognized the luxury brand, estimating the trench coat alone was worth 68,000 yuan. No matter how Mu Chang's explained that the clothes had only been borrowed, no one believed her. The interrogation quickly turned into teasing. Since she had spent the entire night away and returned wearing luxury clothing, they became convinced she had secretly started dating a wealthy man. Embarrassed, Mu Chang's finally admitted she had stayed at a junior's apartment because of the heavy rain, insisting she had slept in the guest room and that nothing had happened. Unfortunately, that explanation only made everyone even more suspicious. Throughout the conversation, only Su Bangxia quietly poured Mu Change a cup of hot water without joining the gossip, noticing how exhausted she looked rather than happy. The teasing soon escalated into playful roughhousing, as Zhang Ling and Fang Jin's tried to inspect Mu Change's new clothes. During the struggle, her trench coat was pulled open, and one of her shirt buttons popped off. Everyone suddenly froze. Two obvious red marks were visible near her collarbone. The atmosphere instantly changed. Thinking something terrible had happened, Zhang Ling anxiously asked if someone had hurt her, while Fang Jin's even offered to help report it to the police. Seeing their worried expressions, Mu Chang hurriedly explained. It isn't what you're thinking. It's just because the bra was too small. Her roommates stared at her in disbelief. After spending the night at a wealthy junior's apartment, returning in clothes worth tens of thousands, and now showing obvious marks on her chest, none of them could bring themselves to believe her explanation. After the commotion in the dorm, Zhang Ling's teasing disappeared, replaced by genuine concern. She warned Mu Chang not to get involved with wealthy playboys and said that if she was truly in financial trouble, the four roommates would find a way to help together. Unable to explain the truth, Mu Chang hid under her blanket and threatened to change dormitories if they continued questioning her. Realizing she was serious, Zhang Ling finally dropped the subject. Outside the dorm, however, another classmate, Zhou Zhiqing, accidentally overheard parts of the conversation through the half-open door. She only caught scattered phrases. Mu Chang hadn't returned all night. Clothes worth tens of thousands. Marks left on her body. Piecing everything together herself, Zhou Zhiqing became convinced Mu Chang had been kept by a wealthy man. Since she had long disliked Mu Chang and wanted Zhao Zixuan's attention back, she immediately considered using the information against her, though she hesitated before sending anything. Back inside the dorm, Su Bangxia quietly walked over and placed a small box of aloe vera gel beside Mu Chang's pillow. Without asking any questions, she softly whispered, "Put this on tonight, it'll help the marks fade." Her simple gesture made Mu Chang feel even guiltier, knowing her roommates were sincerely worried about her. Meanwhile, Su Mu returned alone to his penthouse at Thompson Riviera. As soon as he entered, he noticed that the bath towel and shirt Mu Chang had borrowed had already been washed, neatly folded and left on the table. Beside them was a handwritten note. "I've washed and dried the towel and shirt, thank you for yesterday. Mu." Although he casually threw the note into the trash, the system suddenly appeared. Mu Chang's development progress plus 5%. The notification explained that her thoughtful gesture counted as an act of caring. Su Mu was completely baffled. He hadn't done anything since dropping her off, yet her progress bar kept increasing on its own. Comparing her to Han Xiao, Su Mu couldn't help suspecting Mu Chang had an unusual tendency to win herself over without him making any effort. Deciding not to overthink the system, he relaxed on the sofa and started planning how to enjoy his growing fortune instead. Just then, Wang Hao sent him a message. He said that Senior Zhang Wangqing had organized a freshman tea gathering at the Student Activity Center in 2 days, and had specifically asked Wang Hao to bring all of his roommates along. While Zhang Ling and Fang Jin's rested in the dorm, Su Bangxia quietly prepared to leave for another part-time job. Her roommates couldn't help feeling sorry for her. Once born into a comfortable family, Sue Banksia had lost everything after her gambling-addicted father ruined them financially. Now she worked multiple jobs just to support herself. She smiled faintly, said goodbye, and left without another word. At the same time, Sue Mew woke up in his Thompson Riviera penthouse. He checked Wang Hao's messages and quickly guessed the situation. Wang Hao had already given Zhang Wangqing the expensive phone, which was probably why she had suddenly invited him and his roommates to the upcoming freshman gathering. Rather than interfere, Sue Mew decided to let things play out naturally. After changing clothes, he went out for a walk around Lujiazui. Passing a luxury yoga studio, he heard someone loudly humiliating another person inside. Curious, he walked in. Inside the studio, Sue Banksia was working as an assistant instructor. One of the studio's wealthy VIP members, Jiang Lifen, openly mocked Sue Banksia's worn workout clothes and falsely accused her of trying to attract rich married men. Despite Sue Banksia's quiet explanation that she was only working there part-time, Jiang Lifen refused to stop. To deliberately make things difficult for her, she ordered Sue Banksia to demonstrate one of the studio's most difficult flexibility poses without any warm-up. The surrounding members immediately realized she was intentionally trying to embarrass Sue Banksia. Watching from the lounge, Sue Mew suddenly received another system notification. Target detected: Sue Banksia. Overall rating SS. Development progress 0%. Hidden attribute locked. Special trait: exceptional natural flexibility. Special mode unlocked: spectator mode. Looking at the unfamiliar notification, Sue Mew couldn't help raising an eyebrow. Spectator mode. Watching from the lounge, Sue Mew saw Sue Banksia reluctantly perform the difficult yoga pose despite having no warm-up. Although she completed it, the wealthy VIP Jiang Lifen deliberately spilled water onto the mat beside her. Sue Banksia immediately lost her footing. To avoid damaging the nearby equipment, she twisted her body midair and landed hard on her ankle. The sharp pain left her unable to stand. Instead of apologizing, Jiang Lifen loudly accused Sue Banksia of frightening her. The studio manager rushed over, ignored the injured Sue Banksia, and immediately sided with the VIP. Not only did she deduct Sue Banksia's pay and attendance bonus, but she also threatened to fire her if the customer canceled her expensive membership. Holding back tears, Sue Banksia tried to explain that the water had been spilled intentionally, but neither of them listened. Seeing enough, Sue Mew finally stood up. Looking at Jiang Lifen, he mocked her coldly. You're acting like an empress over an 80,000 yuan membership. Has the standard in Magic City really fallen this low? Furious, Jiang Lifen mocked him in return, convinced he was just another young man pretending to be rich. Sue Mew ignored her completely. Earlier, he had noticed a notice saying the yoga studio was looking for a buyer. He called the owner on speaker in front of everyone. After a brief negotiation, the two agreed on a 10 million yuan purchase price, with Sue Mew paying in full that very day. His only condition was that all employee contracts be transferred with the business. The owner happily agreed. The entire studio fell silent. Only then did everyone realize Sue Mew had just become the studio's new owner. The manager's face instantly turned pale. Walking over calmly, Sue Mew looked at her. Who's in charge of this studio now? Trembling, the manager bent over and addressed him as boss. Without hesitation, Sue Mew fired her on the spot. He also ordered that the wages and bonuses she had tried to deduct from Sue Banksia be paid back at double the amount. Finally, he turned toward Jiang Lifen. Your membership is cancelled. He called over security. Escort her out. From today onward, neither she nor any dog is allowed to enter this studio. Humiliated, Jiang Lifen didn't dare argue anymore and hurriedly fled. Sue Mew then closed the studio for the rest of the day, leaving only himself and the stunned Sue Banksia inside. Once the studio emptied, Sue Mew checked Sue Banksia's swollen ankle and decided she needed an X-ray. Sue Banksia tried to refuse, but he ignored her protests and arranged a ride to the hospital. While collecting her belongings, the pain suddenly made her lose balance. Sue Mew caught her, but her unzipped canvas bag opened, briefly exposing some private clothing inside. Mortified, Sue Banksia hurriedly closed the bag and avoided his gaze. When she struggled to walk again, Sue Mew simply picked her up and carried her to the car. Inside, Sue Banksia remained silent for most of the journey before finally introducing herself. My name is Su Banksia, what's yours? Su Mu. Noticing they shared the same surname, he grinned. From now on, just call me Uncle. Su Banksia stared at him in disbelief while he laughed at her reaction. At the hospital, the doctor confirmed that her ankle was severely sprained but not fractured. While waiting, Su Banksia received a call from the nurses' station and anxiously promised to raise money soon. After collecting her medicine, she quietly asked Su Mu to accompany her upstairs. Her mother was staying in Ward 203. Su Banksia asked him to wait outside while she entered the crowded shared ward. Through the small window in the door, Su Mu watched her thin figure move between the beds. He had originally stepped into the yoga studio only for entertainment. Now seeing how much this seemingly fragile girl carried alone, he found himself unable to leave. After Su Banksia entered her mother's ward, Su Mu quietly went to the payment hall. When she returned to the corridor and found him gone, disappointment briefly crossed her face. Moments later, however, Su Mu came back. I paid the outstanding fees and added more money to the account, he said casually. Move your mother into a private room, this place is too noisy. Su Banksia immediately burst into tears. She hurriedly explained that she had not brought him upstairs to gain sympathy or borrow money. Su Mu interrupted her. Didn't I tell you to call me uncle? An elder helping his niece is nothing. He turned to leave, but Su Banksia limped after him, insisting she would repay every cent. When he refused to give her his bank details, she pulled out her identification cards and offered to write an IOU. Only then did Su Mu notice that she was also a sophomore at Madu University. What a coincidence, we're alumni. He smiled mischievously. At school I'll call you Senior Su, outside you call me Uncle Su. Before she could respond, the elevator doors closed. Back in the ward, Su Banksia's mother, Liu Yuzhen, asked about the young man who had helped her. Su Banksia recounted everything, from the humiliation at the yoga studio to Su Mu buying the business, defending her, taking her to the hospital, and secretly paying the medical bills. After listening quietly, Liu Yuzhen warned her that money could be repaid, but favors were far more complicated. If you feel nothing for him, don't owe him something this great because of me. Su Banksia insisted she would work hard, repay him, and then avoid further contact. Her mother calmly asked, Then why did you cry when you thought he left, and why did you smile when he returned? Su Banksia was left speechless. Liu Yuzhen explained that people often surrendered their hearts when someone helped them during their lowest moment. She did not push her daughter towards Su Mu, but asked whether he had ever made her feel uncomfortable. After thinking carefully, Su Banksia shook her head. Although Su Mu was domineering, he had protected her dignity and never made his help feel humiliating. Her mother gave a faint smile. Someone like that is rare. On his way back, Su Mu received a system notification. Su Banksia development progress 5%. The system added that, with her mother's guidance, Su Banksia had developed her first faint attraction toward a man. Su Mu found the situation amusing. The shy girl who had tried to use her identification as collateral was becoming more interesting than he expected. Later, Su Banksia declined her roommate's invitation to eat barbecue, claiming she was tired from work. For the first time, she hid something important from them. Unknown to both Su Banksia and Mu Chang, each had now begun keeping secrets about the same man. Back in the dorm, Su Mu found Wang Hao obsessively rewriting a comment beneath Zhang Wangqing's latest post. After glancing at it, Su Mu gave only one suggestion. Delete it. Wang Hao protested, but Su Mu reminded him that blindly flattering a woman would never win her over. Nearby, Liu Qiang shifted the conversation to the university's upcoming 100 Groups War, the annual club recruitment event where dozens of organizations competed for freshmen. He enthusiastically recommended the anime club, modeling club, and street dance club, claiming the campus would contain its highest concentration of beauties all year. When Wang Hao invited him along, Su Mu casually agreed. In the girls' dormitory, Su Banksia returned with her ankle bandaged and several bruises from her fall. Her roommates immediately surrounded her with concern. Su Banksia claimed she had simply been injured during her part-time job and reassured them that nothing was broken. Mu Chang offered to help apply medicine that evening, unaware that both of their recent troubles were connected to Su Mu. Zhang Ling then announced that the anime club needed temporary help during the next day's recruitment event. The job paid 200 yuan and included lunch. She convinced Mu Chang to stand near the booth and attract freshmen with her appearance. Although Mu Chang disliked crowded places, she found herself wondering whether Su Mu might attend. After hesitating, she agreed. Zhang Ling then persuaded the injured Su Bangxia to handle registration while seated behind the booth. Since 200 yuan was still valuable to her, Su Bangxia also accepted. Across the narrow dormitory aisle, the two girls exchanged a glance. Mu Chang remembered Su Mu casually spending hundreds of thousands on clothing. Su Bangxia remembered him buying an entire yoga studio without hesitation. Both were burdened by debts they had no idea how to repay, yet neither knew they owed the same man. Later that night, Su Mu learned that the famous anime club president Yi Zhikyu was also one of the university's 4 campus beauties. Although he had little interest in the ranking itself, he vaguely remembered seeing her online before. With nothing better planned, he decided to visit the anime club's booth the next day. The next morning, Madu University's annual club recruitment event packed the sports field with stalls, banners, and crowds of freshmen. Wang Hao eagerly dragged Su Mu through the chaos, pointing out every attractive girl he saw. Su Mu showed little interest and headed straight toward the anime club. At the booth, Mu Chang stood in a light blue dress with subtle makeup, attracting attention without even trying. Behind the registration table, Su Bangxia sat with her injured ankle elevated on a box, quietly scanning the crowd. Both girls were searching for the same person. Su Mu spotted them from a distance and bought 2 cups of hot milk tea before approaching. Meanwhile, Zhao Zixuan arrived at the booth and noticed Su Bangxia. Assuming her modest clothes meant she would be easy to impress, he introduced himself, mentioned his Audi, and asked for her WeChat. Su Bangxia refused without hesitation. Before Zhao Zixuan could continue, Su Mu placed a cup of milk tea in front of her. "Varsenior Su." Su Bangxia immediately blushed. Su Mu then crouched beside her and fixed the loose edge of her ankle bandage, completely ignoring Zhao Zixuan. Furious at being treated like air, Zhao Zixuan mocked the cheap milk tea and bragged about his car. Su Mu barely reacted. "Didn't you notice she has no interest in you?" When Zhao Zixuan's friends mentioned the Audi A6 parked nearby, Su Mu responded with a disinterested "No." Mu Chang soon stepped over and coldly ordered Zhao Zixuan to stop blocking the recruitment booth. Noticing that she defended Su Mu but made no attempt to drive him away, Zhao Zixuan convinced himself that she was secretly interested in him. Before leaving, he leaned closer and maliciously revealed that Mu Chang had supposedly been kept by a wealthy man outside school. "You don't seriously think a campus beauty would fall for someone like you, do you?" Mu Chang's face instantly turned pale. She didn't care about Zhao Zixuan's insult. She only feared Su Mu might believe it and begin seeing her as a shameless woman. Su Mu nearly laughed. The mysterious rich man Zhao Zixuan was describing was Su Mu himself. Instead of questioning her, he looked at Mu Chang and quietly said, "You look pretty in that dress today." Mu Chang froze. Then her entire face turned bright red. Lin Jiyu deliberately dressed up for the 100 Group's war, hoping to find a wealthy target. When she noticed Su Mu's understated luxury outfit and expensive shoes, she immediately realized he was far richer than she had imagined. Convinced she had discovered a hidden rich heir before anyone else, she approached him. Meanwhile, the anime club booth remained crowded. Mu Chang and Su Bangxia both noticed Su Mu, but avoided revealing that they already knew him. As Wang Hao dragged Su Mu toward the cafeteria, Lin Jiyu stepped in front of him, offered him a free drink, and struck up a conversation. After adding him on WeChat, she casually mentioned the black Porsche Panamera parked outside the boys' dormitory. Su Mu simply glanced at her without confirming anything. From the booth, Mu Chang watched the entire exchange. Her grip on the flyer tightened. "That scumbag, am I really worse than her?" Even Su Bangxia noticed the unusual expression on Mu Chang's face, though she quickly dismissed the strange thought forming in her mind. After leaving Su Mu, Lin Jiyu made her move. Using an anonymous account, she uploaded the blurry photo she had secretly taken at Plaza 66, showing Mu Chang with a mysterious wealthy man. Within minutes, screenshots spread through the university gossip groups. The rumors reached the anime club almost immediately. When Mu Chang saw the photo, she wasn't worried about her own reputation. She only worried that Su Mu would misunderstand and think she had deliberately exposed their relationship. She immediately messaged him to meet privately inside the gymnasium. Standing face to face, Mu Chang nervously explained. I didn't leak that photo, I didn't even know someone took it. Instead of getting angry, Su Mu calmly showed her the picture. Pointing at the blurry man beside her, he smiled. They really chose a terrible angle. They couldn't even photograph your sugar daddy properly. Mu Chang's face instantly turned crimson. Stop talking nonsense. Su Mu stepped closer, trapping her between himself and the wall. Looking into her flustered eyes, he lowered his head and kissed her. Mu Chang only gave a weak push before slowly closing her eyes. Ding! Target Mu Chang's first kiss acquired. Development progress plus 5%. Current progress 20%. For the first time, Mu Chang realized she no longer cared about the rumors. She only cared whether Su Mu believed her. As the kiss deepened, Su Mu accidentally brushed against the red marks left by her ill-fitting bra. The pain immediately broke the atmosphere. Embarrassed, Mu Chang pushed him away. You really are a jerk. Blushing furiously, she turned and ran from the gymnasium. Back at the anime club booth, Subangxia stared at the same blurry photo circulating online. The silhouette of the wealthy man looked increasingly like Su Mu. Combined with Mu Chang and Su Mu disappearing together moments earlier, she finally reached an unbelievable conclusion. The mysterious Porsche owner was Su Mu. Remembering her mother's words about not missing the right person, Subangxia gathered her courage. She opened Su Mu's WeChat, typed a message, and pressed send. Watching the message sent notification appear, her heart pounded uncontrollably. After fleeing the gymnasium, Mu Chang hid in a quiet hallway, leaned against the wall, and covered her lips. Remembering the kiss, she slapped her own face in frustration. Mu Chang, what is wrong with you? Meanwhile, Su Mu sat on the stadium steps when his mother sent him a voice message. She laughed about his father secretly buying an expensive fishing rod and getting caught. Su Mu couldn't help smiling before joking back that he would someday bring home a truckload of girlfriends. His mother simply replied with a rolling eyes emoji. After putting away his phone, Su Mu found himself thinking about Mu Chang and Subangxia instead. Mu Chang suddenly remembered her younger sister's school study trip fee and called home. Instead, she learned the money had been spent on their mother's medical treatment after another argument with their unreasonable relatives. Her younger sister quietly said she had given up the school trip. After ending the call, Mu Chang slowly slid down the wall. The lively cheers from the recruitment fair echoed nearby, but she could only hug her knees in silence. 500 yuan was an insignificant amount to others. To her, it was another burden she could barely carry. After calming herself, she wiped away her tears, straightened her clothes, and returned to the event as though nothing had happened. Back at the stadium, Su Mu recalled how Mu Chang had rushed to explain the rumors before worrying about her own reputation. Without realizing it, she had begun caring deeply about what he thought of her. Thinking of her financial struggles and everything she had done for him, Su Mu opened WeChat. He transferred 10,000 yuan to Mu Chang. The note simply read, "Good job, little assistant, a reward from your boss." Hiding in a quiet hallway, Mu Chang stared at the 10,000 yuan WeChat transfer from Su Mu. The transfer note read, "Good job, little assistant, a reward from your patron." Her face flushed with anger. Shameless scumbag. She was about to return the money when another message arrived. Since everyone says I'm keeping you, I'd lose out if I didn't. Though furious at his shamelessness, she couldn't deny the money instantly eased the pressure weighing on her family. She angrily sent a voice message. Do you think money can buy someone's dignity? Su Mu replied immediately. Maybe not your dignity, but it can buy your time. He informed her that her life assistant position was settled, saying the money was simply an advance salary. A final message followed. You fold quilts nicely, come tidy my apartment tonight. Mu Chang reread that casual compliment several times before replying despite herself. I'll repay the money, what time tonight? Only after sending it did she comfort herself that she was merely repaying a debt, not accepting his offer. After accepting the transfer, Mu Chang immediately sent 3,000 yuan to her younger sister for school expenses. When Mu Xiaoxiao worried she had borrowed money or been kept by someone in the city, Mu Chang quickly denied it. She explained she was simply working as a life assistant for a wealthy employer and told her sister not to worry. Left alone again, Mu Chang's thoughts drifted back to the kiss in the gymnasium. She became embarrassed, remembering her roommate's earlier suspicions. He isn't that kind of person. Realizing what she was thinking, she knocked herself lightly on the head. Mu Chang, have you been kissed stupid by that scumbag? She forced herself to stop daydreaming and carefully budgeted the remaining money for her mother's treatment, her sister's expenses, and emergency savings. Once she had composed herself, Mu Chang returned to the anime club booth. Zhang Ling immediately rushed over, worried after seeing the rumors spreading through the campus chat groups. Mu Chang calmly replied, "The photo is fake, ignore it." She resumed organizing registration forms as though nothing had happened. Zhang Ling believed her, but couldn't help noticing that Mu Chang's lips looked unusually red and slightly swollen. Countless suspicious thoughts flashed through her mind, but seeing Mu Chang's icy expression, she wisely swallowed every question. Meanwhile, Mu Chang could only pray the recruitment event would end soon. Because tonight, she still had to go to Thompson Riviera. As the club fair ended, Mu Chang helped pack the anime club booth. When she passed Su Bangxia, a faint cedar scent drifted from her clothes, the same cologne Su Mu had worn at the yoga studio. Su Bangxia casually asked whether Mu Chang knew the junior who had lingered near their booth. Mu Chang denied it too quickly, and the blush spreading across her neck revealed the truth. Combining that reaction with the circulating photo, Mu Chang's swollen lips, and her unexplained overnight absence, Su Bangxia finally understood. The mysterious Porsche owner was Su Mu. She messaged him directly, "Are you the man in the photo with Chang?" Su Mu answered without hesitation, "Yes." The confirmation left Su Bangxia strangely disappointed. Still worried about her roommate, she carefully asked whether the marks on Mu Chang's body had been caused by him. Su Mu quickly understood the misunderstanding. "Do you really think your uncle enjoys that kind of thing?" He followed with another teasing message. "Besides, she's still a long way from becoming your sister-in-law, you're worrying too early." Su Bangxia immediately flushed. Those words meant Su Mu and Mu Chang were not actually together yet, and the realization brought her an embarrassing hint of relief. Unable to find a proper reply, she sent an angry rabbit sticker instead. Seeing it, Su Mu laughed. Meanwhile, Zhang Ling and Fang Jintz returned after packing the equipment and suggested celebrating at the food stalls outside school. Although Mu Chang wanted to prepare for her evening appointment at Thompson Riviera, she reluctantly agreed to join them first. At 6:30 that evening, the four girls returned to their dormitory. While Zhang Ling and Fang Jintz collapsed onto their beds after drinking, Mu Chang opened her wardrobe and changed into a fitted beige sweater. She retied her ponytail, smoothed her hair, and even applied the last of her lipstick. Fang Jintz immediately noticed. "Going out? I have a part-time job." Zhang Ling instantly sat up. To meet the handsome guy from the photo. The two roommates began teasing her about willingly spending the night with him and warned her to protect herself. Mu Chang repeatedly insisted she was only going to work, but they clearly didn't believe her. Fang Jintz even suggested that Mu Chang might secretly enjoy the intense treatment they imagined she had received. Flushed with embarrassment, Mu Chang threw a pillow at her. Zhang Ling then showed her a product online and seriously recommended buying it to prevent injuries. Mu Chang initially didn't understand what it was. After searching its purpose, her entire face turned crimson. "Zhang Ling, you're dead." She grabbed her bag and fled while her roommates shouted after her to be careful. In the stairwell, Mu Chang struggled to calm herself. Everyone believed she had an improper relationship with Su Mu, even though he had only hired her as an assistant. Yet an even more embarrassing thought entered her mind. What if Su Mu really asked for something excessive one day? Startled by herself, Mu Chang slapped her forehead. "Mu Chang, you're hopeless." Throughout the teasing, Su Bangxia remained silently at her desk. Watching Mu Chang carefully dress for Su Mu made her chest ache, but she had no right to interfere or even admit her jealousy. She packed several necessities for her mother's hospital stay and quietly left the dormitory. Near the darkened school gate, she stopped. Su Mu's black Panamera waited by the roadside. Mu Chang approached, opened the passenger door, and climbed inside. The soft sound of the door closing echoed through the night. To Su Bangxia, it felt painfully loud. That night, Sue Banksia arrived at the hospital and forced a smile before entering her mother's ward. One glance was enough for Liu Yuzhen to realize something was wrong. "Did you have a falling out with that young man?" Sue Banksia denied it, but her guilty expression gave everything away. Liu Yuzhen continued questioning until Sue Banksia finally admitted everything. Mu Chang's rumors, seeing her get into Su Mu's Porsche, and how it all made her feel. She lowered her head. "He has already helped us so much. I shouldn't expect anything more. I just want to earn money and repay him." Liu Yuzhen laughed in exasperation. She asked 3 simple questions. If Sue Banksia cut all contact with Su Mu forever, would she regret it? If Mu Chang and Su Mu started dating openly, could she sincerely be happy for them? Had Su Mu and Mu Chang actually become a couple? Sue Banksia could only answer the last one. Not yet. She also remembered Su Mu's earlier message. He said Chang is still far from becoming my sister-in-law. Liu Yuzhen immediately reached her conclusion. As long as they aren't married, everyone has a chance. She reminded her daughter that someone as outstanding as Su Mu would always attract women. Even if Mu Chang wasn't around, someone else eventually would be. If you always back away, you'll lose before the competition even begins. Those words finally shook Sue Banksia. Seeing her daughter listening, Liu Yuzhen offered practical advice instead. You don't need expensive gifts. Capture his stomach and take good care of him. Sue Banksia almost jumped from her chair, blushing furiously after misunderstanding her mother's meaning. Only then did Liu Yuzhen explain she meant using her massage skills from yoga training. When he's exhausted after work, serve him something warm and give him a shoulder massage. Genuine care is worth far more than luxury gifts. Sue Banksia quietly fell into thought. She had no money to give Su Mu anything valuable. But she could use the skills she already had. At 10:30 that night, sitting alone outside the ward, Sue Banksia finally gathered her courage. After hesitating for a long time, she sent Su Mu a message. Are you free sometime in the next few days? I recently learned a therapeutic shoulder and neck massage. Would you let me practice on you? The moment she pressed send, she nervously prayed he wouldn't think she had gone crazy. At the same time, in the penthouse at Thompson Riviera, Su Mu was relaxing on the sofa when his phone vibrated. Without checking the message, he looked toward the living room. Mu Chang's cheeks flushed, was quietly kneeling on the carpet, helping him neatly organize the clothes she had promised to tidy. The peaceful domestic scene caught Su Mu's attention far more than the unread notification on his phone. Earlier that evening, Su Mu drove Mu Chang back to Thompson Riviera. After parking, the two walked toward the private elevator. Although Mu Chang tried to appear calm, she kept nervously tugging at the hem of her fitted sweater. Su Mu noticed and teased her. How many times have you been here already? Why are you still so nervous? Mu Chang denied it, but the blush on her ears betrayed her. Inside the elevator, the confined space made the atmosphere even more awkward. Su Mu casually complimented her sweater. It looks good. Mu Chang immediately turned red. Just then, the elevator suddenly jolted violently before the lights went out. Startled by the darkness and brief sensation of weightlessness, Mu Chang lost her balance and fell straight into Su Mu's arms. Su Mu steadied her with one arm while calmly using his phone's flashlight to contact building security. The repair team estimated it would take about 10 minutes. Realizing she was clinging tightly to him, Mu Chang tried to pull away. Su Mu kept an arm around her waist and joked. If you get hurt while working for me, wouldn't that count as a workplace injury? His teasing only made her more embarrassed. Several minutes later, the elevator suddenly shook again before restarting. The unexpected jolt completely shattered Mu Chang's composure. She instinctively buried herself against Su Mu's chest, holding onto him tightly. The impact caused his hand to slip lower before he quickly adjusted it. Flustered, Mu Chang trembled and softly reminded him. Your hand. At that moment, the system appeared. Ding! Mu Chang's development increased by 10%. Current progress 30%. Major milestone unlocked. Hidden attribute husband-centered. The system explained that because Mu Chang had lost her father at a young age, she subconsciously longed for someone dependable who could protect and support her. Once she truly recognized someone as that person, her loyalty, trust, and emotional dependence would become far stronger than average. Su quietly read the system notification, finally understanding the hidden side beneath the iceberg campus Bell's cold exterior. The system's newly unlocked notification explained Mu Chang's hidden trait. Beneath her cold exterior, she longed for someone dependable who could shoulder everything for her. Once she truly trusted someone, her loyalty and devotion would become unwavering. Su silently smiled, finding the discovery more interesting than expected. The elevator lights soon came back on, and it resumed moving normally. Embarrassed, Mu Chang immediately stepped away from his embrace. Just then, Su received a call from the property's new exclusive housekeeper, Shen Ji, apologizing for the elevator malfunction and offering to visit personally with compensation. Su politely declined, saying it could wait until another day. After arriving at the apartment, Mu Chang hurried inside, hoping to distract herself with work. Before she could begin, Su stopped her and briefly pulled her close, leaving her even more flustered. As he noticed the marks left by her ill-fitting undergarments on her shoulders and collarbone, his playful mood disappeared. Instead of teasing her further, he led her to the sofa, retrieved bruise ointment from the medicine cabinet, and carefully applied it to the irritated skin. His movements were unexpectedly gentle. Watching him silently treat her injuries, Mu Chang finally asked the question that had been buried in her heart. Do you think I'm the kind of woman who can be bought with money? Su didn't answer directly. Instead, he lightly flicked her forehead. She covered the sore spot with watery eyes, looking both hurt and confused. Putting away the ointment, Su finally spoke. Stop imagining things. If I really looked down on you, I wouldn't be sitting here treating your injuries. His blunt reply instantly broke through Mu Chang's emotional defenses. Looking at the man calmly packing away the medicine, the grievance she had been suppressing finally melted away. For the first time in a long while, she felt a genuine sense of safety. Still flustered after the medicine, Mu Chang busied herself folding Su-Mu's clothes to hide her embarrassment. Su-Mu noticed a message from Su Banksia asking if she could practice a newly learned shoulder and neck massage on him, but he left it unanswered. Walking over, he hugged Mu Chang from behind. The warmth of his embrace broke the emotional wall she had maintained for years. With tears streaming down her face, Mu Chang finally opened up about her past. Her father had died young, her mother was chronically ill, and she had supported the family through endless part-time jobs. Meanwhile, her second uncle's family constantly harassed them over property and money, leaving them with no peace. Su quietly listened without offering empty sympathy. After rubbing her head, he simply said, "What's done is done, stay by my side and be my life assistant. Your family's problems are nothing. When the sky falls, your sugar daddy is here to hold it up." Those rough words gave Mu Chang more comfort than any sweet promise. Unable to hold back, she kissed him first. The tender moment was suddenly interrupted by a late-night phone call from her younger sister, Mu Xiaoxiao. Their mother had collapsed. After receiving the money Mu Chang had sent home, her second aunt spread rumors throughout the village that Mu Chang was being kept by a wealthy man. Furious and humiliated, their mother suffered a blood pressure attack and was rushed to the town clinic. Mu Chang immediately tried to book a train home, only to find every overnight ticket sold out. Seeing her on the verge of breaking down, Su took her phone and said calmly, "Don't panic. I'll drive you home." Remembering she would miss classes, Mu Chang called Counselor Su Man to request leave. Instead of listening, the counselor assumed she had stayed out overnight with a man and accused her of lying to skip class. Already overwhelmed, Mu Chang was left speechless. Su took the phone. Ignoring the counselor's threats of disciplinary action, he replied coldly, "We're going to save a life. Whether you approve the leave or not, we're leaving." He hung up, tossed Mu Chang a coat, grabbed his car keys, and led her out of the apartment without another word. Late that night, Su Banksia sat alone outside her mother's hospital ward, staring at the unanswered WeChat message she had sent Su over half an hour earlier. Believing he was probably with Mu Chang, she quietly put away her phone and buried her head in her knees, swallowing her disappointment alone. At the same time, Su was speeding down the highway in his Porsche, rushing Mu Chang back to her hometown. Wrapped in his trench coat, Mu Chang sat silently in the passenger seat, tears still falling. Su tossed her a few tissues. "Wipe your tears." If your second aunt sees you crying later, she'll think you're even easier to bully. Mu Chang thanked him quietly before remembering the trouble they had caused with Counselor Su Man by leaving overnight. Su Mu brushed it off. We'll deal with that later. Meanwhile, Counselor Su Man, furious after having her call cut off, vowed to make Su Mu pay for his arrogance. The Porsche continued through the night. As the silence settled, Su Mu finally asked, "Tell me about your second aunt." Mu Chang slowly revealed her family's past. After her father died in a mining accident, her family received 100,000 yuan in compensation. Her uncle's family falsely claimed her father had owed them 50,000 yuan and repeatedly demanded the money. When that failed, they targeted the family home after rumors spread that the land might be demolished for compensation. Over the years, her second aunt constantly harassed them, destroying vegetables, throwing quilts into the mud, publicly insulting her widowed mother, and even shoving her badly enough to require police mediation. Listening quietly, Su Mu's expression darkened. "And your plan is to keep enduring this?" Mu Chang lowered her head. "I'll bear it for a few more years. Once I graduate, I'll take Mom and Xiaoxiao away." Su Mu couldn't hold back anymore. "Your mom collapsed tonight and you're still talking about enduring." He bluntly listed everything her aunt had done: property damage, harassment, assault, defamation, and causing her mother's hospitalization. "We'll calculate every loss she's caused. We'll sue her until she's bankrupt." Mu Chang smiled bitterly. "In a small county like ours, hiring a lawyer won't help. Besides, I can't afford one." Su Mu glanced at her as if she had said something ridiculous. "Who said you had to hire one?" As the Porsche sped through the empty highway, Mu Chang gradually calmed down under Su Mu's reassurance. Meanwhile, Su Mu realized a practical problem. Although he had promised to sue Mu Chang's second aunt into bankruptcy, he had money but no legal connections. After a moment's thought, he remembered Shen Ji, the exclusive housekeeper at Thompson Riviera. He immediately called her. "I need a reliable legal team tonight. They need to specialize in civil disputes and leave for another city immediately." Without asking any unnecessary questions, Shen Ji agreed at once. After hanging up, she realized this was the perfect opportunity to repair her relationship with the mysterious billionaire owner. She immediately rushed into her roommate Lu Wei's room. Lu Wei, an intern at a top Red Circle law firm, initially refused after hearing it was just a rural family dispute. But when Shen Ji mentioned that the client was the owner of Thompson Riviera's penthouse duplex, Lu Wei instantly changed her attitude. She immediately contacted her mentor, the renowned lawyer Zhou Difeng. Upon hearing who the client was, even Zhou Difeng got out of bed without hesitation. Within an hour, 2 business vans carrying a professional legal team departed overnight. Shen Ji then sent Su Mu a message confirming everything had been arranged. Money alone wasn't the greatest advantage. Real wealth meant being able to mobilize people and resources with a single phone call. Throughout the entire conversation, Mu Chang quietly listened from the passenger seat. Problems that had always seemed impossible to her were solved by Su Mu in only a few minutes. Watching him calmly drive through the night, she couldn't help feeling even more secure beside him. Around 2 a.m., Su Mu's Porsche arrived at the small county health center. Mu Chang rushed inside and found her mother, Chen Gikin, lying weakly in a crowded ward while her younger sister, Mu Xiaoxiao, watched over her. The sisters immediately embraced, crying together after the frightening night. Instead of interrupting them, Su Mu walked straight to the payment counter. Ignoring the confused cashier, he prepaid 50,000 yuan into Chen Gikin's account and ordered the staff to move her into the best private ward. He also instructed them to wake the hospital director and bring in the best specialists from the county and city overnight. "I'll cover every expense." The entire hospital was stunned by his decisiveness. Watching from the ward, Mu Chang felt overwhelmed. Without making empty promises, Su Mu had solved the family's biggest problem with a few simple instructions. Afterward, he stepped outside to confirm with Shen Ji that the legal team was already on its way. Inside the ward, Mu Xiaoxiao quietly pulled her sister aside. "Tell me honestly, is that handsome guy my future brother-in-law?" Mu Chang blushed furiously but couldn't deny it. Seeing her reaction, Mu Xiaoxiao grinned. "What kind of friend drives hundreds of kilometers in the middle of the night and casually spends 50,000 yuan for you?" She even joked that if her sister didn't see such a perfect man, she'd steal him herself when she grew up. Embarrassed, Mu Chang lightly smacked her forehead, though she couldn't hide the smile on her face. It was the first time she had silently acknowledged Su Mu's place in her heart. Soon, the medical staff transferred Chen Gikin into a private room. Meanwhile, Su Mu checked Shen Ji's update. The legal team would arrive within half an hour. Stretching his stiff neck, he turned to Mu Chang. "Let your sister stay with your mom. You're coming back to the village with me." His eyes turned cold. "I want to meet this second aunt who's been bullying your family. Let's see if she really has 3 heads and 6 arms." As soon as Su Mu finished speaking, loud cursing erupted outside the township health center. Mu Chang's face instantly paled. She knew that voice all too well. It belonged to her second aunt, Wang Qiuhua. Su Mu walked outside first, with Mu Chang and Mu Xiaoxiao following behind. In the courtyard, a battered electric tricycle was parked directly in front of the Porsche, completely blocking its path. Beside it stood Wang Qiuhua, arms on her hips, surrounded by several villagers who had come to watch the drama. Seeing the luxury car, greed flashed across her eyes instead of fear. She loudly accused Mu Chang of abandoning her relatives after finding a rich man, even claiming she and her husband had looked after the family for years. Mu Chang's eyes reddened with anger. "You've done nothing but bully us. If you hadn't spread those rumors tonight, my mother wouldn't have collapsed." Wang Qiuhua only sneered. "I'll stand right here, nobody leaves until you pay." She even slapped the Porsche's hood with her muddy hands, leaving filthy prints behind. Su Mu ignored her and turned to Mu Chang. "Take your sister back onto the steps." Without hesitation, the sisters obeyed. Su Mu unlocked the Porsche, got inside, and started the engine. Instead of backing away, Wang Qiuhua dragged her tricycle even closer and stood directly in front of the car. "You rich brat, try hitting me. If you scratch me, I'll make you pay for the rest of your life." The surrounding villagers also mocked him, convinced he wouldn't dare damage such an expensive car. Su Mu slowly lowered the window. "I'll give you one last chance. Move your tricycle. Or get out of my way." Wang Qiuhua laughed louder. "I'm not moving. Go ahead if you've got the guts." Su Mu simply rolled the window back up. He shifted into drive, then floored the accelerator. The Porsche roared like a beast. Bang! The luxury sedan slammed straight into the rusty tricycle, pushing it several meters across the concrete while sparks flew from the grinding metal. The shattered mirror spun through the air. Wang Qiuhua screamed in terror and dove sideways, tumbling headfirst into the filthy roadside ditch. The spectators froze in horror. No one had expected someone to ram a million-yuan sports sedan into a worthless farm tricycle without the slightest hesitation. Covered in muddy sewage, Wang Qiuhua immediately began wailing. "He's trying to kill me. Somebody help." Su Mu calmly parked the Porsche and stepped out. Ignoring her screams, he examined the front bumper. Several deep scratches scarred the paint. He nodded slightly. "Good." Then he looked down at Wang Qiuhua. "My Porsche cost over 2.3 million yuan. You illegally blocked my lane. The damage to the bumper will cost at least 40 or 50,000 yuan to repair." Wang Qiuhua was stunned. "You drove into me. Why should I pay?" Su Mu smiled coldly. "We'll let the traffic police decide liability. Whoever is responsible can compensate the other." Before she could continue shouting, 2 black Mercedes business vans with Shanghai license plates drove into the courtyard. Lu Wei and the veteran lawyer Zhou Difang stepped out with the legal team. The first thing they saw was the scratched Porsche, the wrecked tricycle, and Wang Qiuhua sitting in the muddy ditch. Even Lu Wei, who had met countless wealthy clients, was stunned. Most rich people argued endlessly over a tiny scratch. This young man had casually used a multi-million yuan Porsche to bulldoze a broken tricycle without blinking. At that moment, everyone realized Su Mu wasn't simply wealthy. He was the kind of man who solved problems without caring what it cost. Lu Wei and veteran lawyer Zhou Difang approached Su Mu and introduced themselves as the legal team arranged by Shen Ji. Su Mu pointed toward the damaged Porsche and Wang Qiuhua, who was still sitting in the ditch. "I don't care about the repair money. I want her family bankrupt and too frightened to ever trouble the Mu family again." Lu Wei immediately outlined their plan. They would gather evidence of Wang Qiyu's years of property damage, harassment, assault, and defamation, then demand compensation for Chen Gikin's medical expenses and emotional suffering. They would also investigate Mu Jianche's business, land use, taxes, and finances for any illegal activity. If there's evidence, Lu Wei said, this won't end with compensation, someone may go to prison. Satisfied, Su Mu ordered them to begin at dawn and promised to cover every expense. Lu Wei handed him her private contact card, emphasizing that she was available for both legal updates and personal needs. Su Mu accepted it without interest and walked back to Mu Chang's. Seeing her exhausted and anxious, he pulled her against his shoulder. Everything has been handed over to the lawyers. Stay with your mother tonight, we'll return to the village tomorrow. He gently patted her back. Don't worry, your man will handle it. Mu Chang stiffened at those words, but she didn't deny them. Instead, her fingers tightened around his coat. Nearby, Mu Xiaoxiao watched with shining eyes, increasingly convinced she had found the perfect brother-in-law. Meanwhile, Wang Qiyu quietly crawled from the ditch and fled toward the village to warn her husband. Su Mu noticed but made no attempt to stop her. He intended to deal with their entire family at once. Checking his phone, he saw Su Bangxia's unanswered massage invitation from hours earlier. He put it away again. First, he would finish handling the trouble in Mu Chang's hometown. Then he would deal with everything waiting for him back in Magic City.
Okay, that's the end of this part, but I promise there's much more to come. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing so you don't miss the next part.